But can we be doing more? The Washington Free Beacon's Matthew Foldi is joining me right now. Matthew, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to this situation?
Thanks for having me, Maria. Look, this is stunning dishonesty from President Biden, but his administration has been very clear since day one that it is at war with American energy. And there are three key ways that we've seen Democrats exacerbated American energy prices well before Putin invaded Ukraine. On day one, obviously, Biden canceled Keystone, which is important also for the long-term signal it sends, which is, why would you start a pipeline if you think Democrats will cancel it anyway? Number two was he pulled permits for domestic oil and oil drilling right before Russia invaded, and Secretary Marty Walsh said that that's not on the table, resuming domestic drilling. And number three, we reported the Free Beacon yesterday that House Democrats pressed oil companies last year, when oil was already at an all-time high for consumers in America, about scaling back production. So gas prices were already a problem before Putin invaded Ukraine. We see Biden is obviously trying to blame Russia, which has been the Democrat strategy for the last 5 years. Anytime something goes wrong, it's Russia's fault. But the reality is we would be seeing skyrocketing oil prices, as we have been since the day President Biden took office and declared war on American energy. So he can blame Putin all he wants, but
yeah. Yeah, that's right. He can blame Putin all he wants, but the truth is the White House sets the tone. And the White House has set the tone for business. Let's not forget, you've got companies like the Blackstone Group recently coming out and saying they will no longer invest, they will no longer fund oil and gas exploration projects. Yesterday, CalSTRS, the California Pension Fund, came out and said they are rejecting calls for fossil fuel divestment. So there's this pressure on business right now to just divest fossil fuels, get away from major big oil companies. And this starts with the White House. There's no backing away from that, Matthew.
The only Americans that President Biden listens to on energy policy are radical environmentalists who hate American energy. He's outsourced both his policy and actual American oil to Venezuela and Iran, as he's trying to push for Putin's Iran deal. And, you know, maybe we'll scale back our Russian oil imports to instead get it from communist Venezuela, when, God forbid, we could be drilling actually here in America, creating jobs for Americans. So you're right, the tone comes from the White House, and the tone could not be more disheartening as we are trying to actually become energy independent from these countries like Russia that we should not be relying on oil from to begin with.
Well, I mean, it's changing. I mean, the sentiment is changing because the American people get this. They understand. We've got a new Fox News poll which reveals 39% of registered voters believe Biden is very responsible for the spike in gasoline prices. Matthew, you say this price hike is going to be good for Democrats. What are your thoughts here? Because some people have come on this program and said this is all intentional. They want oil and gas prices to become out of reach, so much so that we say, God, I got to buy a Tesla. I got to buy an electric vehicle.
That's exactly what the transportation secretary just said. He said, oh, if you're concerned about high gas prices, just buy an electric vehicle. But the supply chain crisis under Biden makes electric vehicles unaffordable. But I do think you're right. Again, we've seen that gas prices have gone like this during Biden's presidency. And I think that that is sort of a push away from fossil fuels and towards vehicle electrification. And the administration has no real incentive from a policy standpoint, where its goal is to have, you know, universal electric vehicles everywhere, which is impossible given its own supply chain crisis. But yeah, high oil prices, I think cynically they believe this will help them push towards more electric vehicles across the country. And we've reported extensively at the Free Beacon also about how a lot of Biden's top donors are benefiting from electric vehicle companies. So it sort of comes full circle of they want these high gas prices to push for renewed oil prices. But now they have the benefit of being able to say, well, this is Putin's price hike, when actually it's been Biden's price hike from day one. And I think it sort of goes towards that goal that Democrats have of no fossil fuel. And that further explains why they want to pull drilling from Americans, because that would be good for American jobs. But if we can't do that here, then, oh, we can rely on these, you know, enemy countries while we sort of try and force solar. It's totally a mess. And especially right now, as Americans are feeling pain at the pump, why are we doing this? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Biden owns this move. There's no doubt. Joe Biden owns this inflation story and this price of gasoline and the spike. We continue to watch. Matthew, thank you for weighing in. We will keep watching Washington Beacon. Matthew Foldi. Stay with us. We'll be right back.